Yesterday was the deadline for protecting your prospects from getting plucked away in the Rule 5 draft, and you won't believe who the Giants protected. Nobody.
And he drives it into right center field, hit a ton. This baby is way back on a hair.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Hum Baby Baseball channel, and today we're talking Rule 5 draft, and we're talking San Francisco Giants, and of course all other teams have been involved in this process and will be involved in this process trying to decide who they want to protect from getting snagged away and who they want to snag away from other teams. And that's basically what the Rule 5 draft is. Just a quick overview, not going to go through all the little details, but basically, if one of your prospects has been in the minor leagues for a long time, 4 or 5 years, there's going to come a point where they will be eligible for the Rule 5 draft. Now, when they become eligible could depend on whether they were international signee, whether they played in college, whether they played in just high school. All that stuff will maybe have a small effect, but basically 4 or 5 years toiling away in the minors and you never get a shot in the majors and you've been with the same team, you will be eligible for the Rule 5 draft at some point. And the Giants know, and every team knows, which guys they have that are going to be eligible for the Rule 5 draft, which is coming up in a couple weeks, by the way. And teams have to decide who they want to protect from the Rule 5 draft. And the way to protect somebody from getting taken away from you is by adding them to the 40-man roster. But the Giants' 40-man roster is full, so to do that, you have to cut somebody. You have to take someone off the 40-man roster, and that's the problem, and that's why they decided not to protect anyone. I guess they didn't want to remove anyone from their 40-man, but other teams did remove people from their 40-man, and I got one guy going to talk about at the end of this video, a former Giant who is now available because he was removed from a team's 40-man to add somebody they wanted to protect from the Rule 5 draft. Question is, who did the Giants protect yesterday by adding them to the 40-man? And the answer is nobody, because they didn't want to cut anybody from the 40-man, and now we're going to have some prospects, some really big name prospects who are going to be available. I'm not saying super big names, but I'll talk about a few of the names that I'm talking about that are going to be available to other teams in a couple weeks. Two of the bigger names you might have heard of in the Giants system are Jalen Miller and Heath Quinn. Jalen Miller had a tough year in AA. He only hit .216, so that might mean that teams are not going to go for him. And as for Heath Quinn, he had a better season, hit around .287, mainly in single A, but he also dealt with injuries. So both of these guys have some issues that maybe would persuade teams not to grab them. But let's also keep this in mind. If a team does take you in this Rule 5 draft pick, it doesn't necessarily mean you've lost them forever, because they have to stay on that 25-man roster next season the entire year. And if they don't want to keep them on the 25-man, if they want to release them or cut them or send them to the minors, they can't do that. They have to first offer them back to their old team. And we saw this with the Giants last season. The Giants had a total of 3 Rule 5 guys on their roster at some point, either during spring training or the regular season. They consisted of Drew Ferguson, who they got from the Astros, Travis Bergen, who they got from the Blue Jays, Connor Joe, who they got from the Dodgers originally. Actually, the Reds got Connor Joe first, but the Reds traded him to the Giants. The Dodgers were still the team that was the original owner of Connor Joe. So if the Giants were to release Connor Joe, they would have had to send him back to LA, which of course they did. In fact, they released all 3 of those guys. That's just it. Rule 5 guys oftentimes don't make it through the season. They're just kind of a gamble. There are some Rule 5 drafts who work out, and one that comes to mind is Josh Hamilton when the Reds grabbed him as a Rule 5 from the Rays because he was just a freaking drug addict on the streets, and they were like, well, might as well take this dude and see what happens. Well, he got off drugs and became a superstar. But that was then. This is now. There ain't no Josh Hamiltons involved here. So there's a good chance if somebody grabs one of these guys from the Giants, they might not work out. They might get returned to the Giants, just like those 3 guys I talked about. Drew Ferguson didn't even make it through spring training, and he was heading back to Houston. I just saw him play with Round Rock Express. He was with AAA the whole year. He was with Round Rock Express when they played the River Cats in that PCL championship in Texas, and I was there at that game, and I saw Ferguson. I was like, oh, there's Ferguson. He was with the Giants for a short time. Travis Bergen was a pretty good pitcher for a while, but at some point Giants said, nah, we're good. Sent him back to the Blue Jays. And Connor Joe one of the most famous Giants of all time, because during those 15 at-bats, people were frustrated, like, what is this guy? Who is this guy? I actually knew who Connor Joe was because I watched him play in the Dodgers minor league system, and I think he's a good hitter and a very good player, and I wish he would have got more than 15 at-bats. Because, I mean, Tony Gwynn went 1 for 15 in certain stretches. It doesn't really prove that you're a bad player because you struggled through 15 measly at-bats. You need to get more than that. But Farhan said, see you later, sent him packing. Eventually, we found guys like Yastrzemski, and so things kind of worked out, but that's just sad to see him go after 15 at-bats. That's how it is with the Rule 5 draft picks. So these guys that the Giants have not protected could get claimed, but then they could come back if they don't work out with their new team. And there's a couple other guys I wanted to mention. Sandro Fabian. This guy's got some pop. He only hit 200 in 2018, and he was even available last season for the Rule 5. I remember specifically, did not get claimed, had a better year, but dealt with injuries. And this year in 2019, he hit 276. So that's a guy who people are going to look at. He's got some pop, but even more so, and I believe his name is Franklin Labor. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name exactly, but he hit 15 home runs and 273 at-bats. Another very powerful guy in the minor leagues. I've only seen his name written. I've never seen his name pronounced, so I'm not sure how to say it. But Franklin Labor is a beast, so hopefully he won't get claimed, and if he does, maybe he'll get returned. Another team that decided they're going to cut somebody to make room for a prospect to protect was the Rays, and they cut one Matt Duffy. So Matt Duffy is going to be a free agent. He is out there and available unless he decides to go to the minor leagues or something with the Rays, but I don't think he's going to want to do that. He's probably going to become a free agent. So Matt Duffy is out there. Old Giant, you never know. Maybe he'll get invited to spring training. We'll get to see him in a Giants uniform, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens there with Matt Duffy, a fan favorite here in San Francisco. So that's what's going on with the Rule 5 draft picks this year with the Giants. Basically, so far, there could be some more activity. Giants could decide they want to claim somebody from another team, which I think is likely that they'll claim somebody from another team, and then they'll have to cut a few guys on the 40-man to make room for those guys when the Rule 5 draft pick comes, which is coming up in December. So we'll definitely have some news when the Rule 5 draft pick actually happens. When the drafts go down, we'll see who the Giants snag, if anybody. We'll see who gets snagged from the Giants, if anybody. And it's going to be interesting. Rule 5 is always interesting and kind of weird because you're in a new team, you're in a new uniform, but you still have a connection to your old team, which is weird. I find it weird. Like if you get released, you're offered back to your old team. It's a weird thing, but that's the way it works. And I've seen it happen time and time again, especially in the minor leagues. You see a guy you really like. Oh, he's gone now with this other team. Here he is again. What? I thought he was gone. Oh, he was a Rule 5 guy. That's how Rule 5 works. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining me right here on the Hum Baby Baseball channel. I keep forgetting to mention, but I do have a bobblehead. This is a Bruce Bochy bobble. Going to be giving this away to a lucky subscriber around Christmas time if I can hit the big 300 by the end of the year. So that's the goal. When I hit 300, I'm going to draw a name of my subscriber base, and this bobblehead, this is a 2014 limited edition. This is going to go out to one of those subs. So make sure that if you're not subscribed, you might want to do so. See ya. When the Giants come to town, it's bye bye baby. Every time the chips are down, it's bye bye baby. History's in the making at Oracle Park.